What's up guys, welcome back to another video, and today we are going to talk about the 2017 MacBook Pro. So hopefully the audio is a little better. I switched microphones. I'm still trying to figure out where exactly to put it. Right now it's up here on the dashboard, which is not ideal, but I'm not really sure where else to put it. So let me know if you feel like it's better or not. I'll try to adjust it as we go. So the configuration I have here, and if I reference down here, it's because the laptop is down here. Configuration I have is the 2017 7th gen Intel processor equipped model. It's the base model, but with the touch bar. So there's no other upgrades or anything like that except for the touch bar, and we'll talk about the touch bar a little more in a little bit. So first we're going to go through all the things I like about the computer, then we'll talk about some of the things I don't like about it, and then I'll kind of give you a summary to see if it's worth the money, if it's worth the investment. So first on the list of things I really like about this computer is the build. It is incredibly sleek and premium. From the minute you pick it up, you feel like it's worth whatever you paid, which is really important when you spend that much on a computer. Next, let's talk about the trackpad, and let me tell you, this trackpad makes me wish I had one on my desktop. It's smooth, large, and functional. I don't think I can overstate how much I love this trackpad. Pinching to zoom and using 3 fingers to switch between desktops is really nice, and although macOS doesn't use it an awful lot, the Force Touch in the trackpad is also really cool. Much like 3D Touch on the newer iPhones, the MacBook Pro's trackpad is pressure sensitive, which means you can preview links by pressing a little bit harder on them and then releasing. You can control the speed of playback in QuickTime, and all that's possible because the MacBook Pro's trackpad doesn't actually physically move. What it does instead is it simulates movement by vibrating and sending you a little bit of tactile feedback when you go to click. Next, let's talk about the keyboard, and let's address the 2 major complaints about this keyboard. Yes, the key travel is really short, and yes, it is pretty loud. In my opinion, though, these 2 things make it feel really tactile and consistent. It never feels mushy or soft like you'd get on a cheaper laptop. In fact, the only 2 complaints I have about the keyboard are the lack of a number pad and the placement of the command key. The number pad is absent for obvious reasons, and I don't think the command key is moving anytime soon. I just think it's too far towards the spacebar to be comfortably pressed with your pinky finger, because that's usually what I use for control on Windows, and it's a little harder to press on here. Maybe it's just a learning curve, but it's definitely something that's bothered me a little bit. Staying by the keyboard, let's talk about the touch bar. I really like the touch bar. If nothing else, it's really good for changing the volume and brightness and other system preferences like that. And also, predictive text is really nice. I can't spell to save my life, so that alone is worth the $300 to me, but some other apps will also build in some pretty practical functionality into it. Yeah, it's not super intuitive to look down at the keyboard while you're trying to use it, but at the same time, it's also easier than taking your hands off of the keyboard to go down to the trackpad and do whatever it is you are trying to adjust. Also, I should mention having Touch ID on there, if you get the touch bar equipped model, is really nice. It's a lot nicer than trying to enter in some long password to protect your computer. Next, let's talk about the speakers, and the speakers on the MacBook Pro are surprisingly usable. Obviously, if you're going to be monitoring audio or anything like that, you're going to want a decent pair of headphones anyway, but for watching YouTube videos and even listening to music, they're really not that bad. They're not super tinny like most laptops, and they're loud enough to fill a room without distorting the sound. Next, let's discuss battery life, and the battery life on the MacBook Pro is phenomenal. It easily makes it through a full day, even with lots of video playback and even a little bit of video editing, and I can't express how comforting it is to have all-day battery life in a computer like this. It means you don't even have to worry about bringing a power cable with you, which is super nice, because I only have one USB-C cord, and the less I have to unplug that from behind my desk, the better. And with this computer, if I'm going out for the day, I don't even have to worry about bringing it. It's really nice. I feel like I'm the only one that's not complaining about how cold it is out. It's 3 degrees right now, according to my car, and I like it because it means there's no mud. Like, I hate winters that thaw every 3 days because I cannot stand the mud. Like, I would rather have it 3 below than muddy. Alright, let's talk about macOS. In my opinion, macOS is what makes the MacBook Pro worth considering. If this was just another Windows computer, I would totally agree. It's just an overpriced premium shell with lackluster internals. Love it or hate it, everyone has an opinion about macOS, and maybe someday I'll make a video detailing my thoughts on it, but for now, let's just go through a few of the things I like. And don't take this as me hating on Windows. I still use Windows all the time, and I still really like Windows 10. One thing that stands out after years of using Windows is how easy to use macOS's file system is. For example, uninstalling programs is super easy. There's no going to another program to do it, you simply just drag them to the trash. Settings are also super well organized, and having the status bar? Is that what the thing up at the top? Menu bar? Status bar? Having that up at the top at all times is really convenient. You don't have to worry about how programs choose to organize it, it's just always right how you left it, you can always find stuff. It's actually kind of nice. Possibly the biggest advantage to using macOS is how well it works with your other Apple products. Obviously, you're not going to get the most out of this computer if you use an Android phone, but then again, I think most people probably already use an iPhone that are considering buying this computer. With macOS, you can get not only iMessage notifications, but also SMS notifications. You can read and reply to SMS messages right on your computer. It doesn't matter if they're sent from an Android phone or anything like that. And that's really, really nice. And other than that, there's also just dozens of small conveniences that really make your phone and your computer feel like one unit. Universal copy and paste is really cool, and AirDrop makes sending files between devices really seamless. macOS also has lots of non-iOS related advantages. For instance, built-in screen recording in QuickTime is really cool, and the abundance of creative apps available is a huge selling point for a lot of people. It's not like Windows doesn't have an abundance of applications available, but there are some exclusives worth considering on macOS. Final Cut Pro and Logic Pro are industry favorites, and then things like Affinity Photo come out way before they do on Windows. And of course, you also have access to more universal programs like the Adobe Suite. All that aside though, there are some things that do bother me about this computer. Alright, let's do this. I talked in my iPhone X video about my desire for a cordless future, and I do feel like this computer is a really big step in that direction. However, I can't deny how inconvenient USB-C is. Yes, it's vastly superior to USB-A, but I don't own any other devices that are compatible with USB-C. For example, I can't plug my Apple iPhone X into my MacBook without an adapter, and like right now, the microphone's plugged in right here, so I can't plug my phone into my computer to use the computer as a viewfinder, because I only have one adapter. I want to get there, but there are certainly some growing pains along the way. So I do definitely appreciate how in sync macOS and iOS are, but there are still some gaps that need to be filled there. I would love to have macOS versions of the Apple Home, News, and TV apps like we do on iOS. Particularly the TV app. I love the TV app on iOS, and I feel like having it on an even bigger screen like this would be really nice, but for some reason they just choose to not release versions of those apps for macOS. Next, let's talk about the aspect ratio. I mentioned in my iPhone X video that I'm not super down with oddball aspect ratios, and that holds true with the MacBook Pro. I do agree that taller aspect ratios like in the iPhone X and the MacBook Pro work really well for vertical scrolling, but I watch a lot of YouTube videos, and you're gonna have to get used to some black bars for that. It doesn't bother me near as much as it does on the iPhone X. Maybe that's because it's a bigger screen, or maybe it's because it's a lot closer to 16:9, but regardless, it's something worth considering. Arguably, my biggest complaint about this laptop is how much Apple charges for storage. They are really fast SSDs, and that will come in handy when you're offloading all of your files to an external hard drive because you ran out of space. It's just unreasonable how much they charge at checkout to upgrade the storage, and don't even think about trying to do it yourself. Finally, let's talk about gaming. Don't. If you're looking for a gaming computer, you're going to have to look elsewhere. It is really disappointing to spend this much on a computer and have it run games about as well as my 6-year-old pre-built HP computer, but at this point you know what you're getting into. So I think it's no secret the biggest point of contention for this computer is the price. Price is the first thing everyone mentions when they see this computer, and for me, it's worth every penny, but for you, it might well not be. If you think this laptop is incredibly overpriced, then to you, it probably is. But if you see the value in something this well-designed and premium, then I really don't think you'll regret buying one. All I can say for certain is I really love this computer, and I never once wish I had my money back. I bought it because I thought it would improve almost every aspect of my life, and it most certainly has done that. To doing homework, making videos, and even just watching YouTube, this thing makes everything easier, faster, and more enjoyable than ever before. Today's question of the day is, what is your main computer? Do you use a Windows computer, a Mac, or do you use something completely different? Let me know by tapping the I, and don't forget I post new videos every single Sunday, so I'd definitely like to see you back next week. But until then,